No, no, wait, wait. Huh? Oh dear. No, this is taking more time now. Oh, I haven't connected this. That is the reason. You can start, no problem. Shall we? Shall we start? Huh? Oh dear. Parallel, it's okay. As long as it is coming. So shall we? Are you okay now? Okay. वटविटपि समीपे भूमिभागे निषन्नं सकलमुनिजनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवं जननमरण दुःखच्छेददक्षं नमामि चित्रं वटतरोर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्न संशयाः ओम नमः प्रणवार्ताय शुद्ध ज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशांताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः ओम राहुग्रस्त दिवाकरेन्द्र सदृशो माया समाच्छादनात् सन्मात्रकरणोपसंहरणतो यो भूत सुषुप्त पुमान् प्रागस्वाप्समिति प्रबोध समये यप्रत्यभिज्ञायते तस्मै श्री गुरुमूर्तये नमः श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये. So this shloka we saw a little bit in the last class. So we will see a little bit more of this before we move on. So if we can recollect, this shloka is for disputing the Shunyavada. If you remember, the fifth shloka is Deham Pranam Api Indriyanyapi Chalam Buddhim Cha Shunyam Viduhu. The 5 different schools of thought which establishes who am I. In that, Shankaracharya took only the Shunyavada and he said, let me destroy that argument. Now this is called Prathama Malla Nyayaha. See, if you have a boxer, you don't have to fight with the, you have to fight only with the current champion. Prathama Mallaha. It's called Prathama Malla Nyayaha. Because you don't have to fight with you have to fight with the champion. If you win, you become the champion. And here the champion is already Shunyavada, because they have very effectively destroyed the other four schools of thought. When you get into deep sleep, all schools of thought will go. Deham will go, Prana will go, Indriya will go, Kshana Buddhi will also go. That is why they were able to show that the other schools of thought are not correct. So they were sort of holding on. So Shankaracharya said, let me only hit this now, because he has already hit in turn the others. Now the critical difference between Shankaracharya's argument and Shunyavada is simple. Shunyavada says that it's all nothingness or emptiness. Both have gone to the deep sleep. Shunyavadin is saying deep sleep is nothingness, so it's called Shunya. Buddhists are doing that. Or emptiness. Therefore your existential nature is emptiness. This is what they are arguing. His argument is, it is not empty, it is the so-called I in its absolute purity without any frills. Therefore you are not able to recognize. So the dividing line is very thin. If, as I told, if you destroy the whole world of all buildings, everything you flatten it, then you cannot recognize space as an entity. You are recognizing space as an entity because of the interruptions which create the meaning of a space. If you remove everything, then space is not there. Space is only a fancy idea. Because of all these interruptions, we are recognizing the space. So that is what he is arguing. He is arguing that absence of recognizable things is not the same as emptiness. Please come. Can you close the door? Absence of everything is not the same as nothing. Emptiness is different from absence of things you can recognize. That is where he was trying to project this whole argument, and he was using, of course, the Pratama Malla Nyaya. Let us hit the champion, that's enough. The others are, champion has already hit and he is already the champion now. So that is where he has gone. So here we saw this, we will again look at this. He says, Rahu Grasta, captured by Rahu, Divakara Indu Sadrishaha. So he is using this eclipse as an example. Just like this so-called Rahu eclipses the sun and the moon and creates an impression sun is not there, moon is not there. As far as that, if it is a total solar eclipse for 6 hours, let us say, total solar eclipse is happening for few minutes or at most 10 minutes or whatever. And people say it is very dramatic. We have not still seen a proper pakka total solar eclipse which can make a day into a night, more or less. So that is the example he is taking. He is taking that the total eclipse of sun or the moon creates an impression it is not there. So that is what you are seeing in deep sleep. This is the argument he is trying to make, that because of a temporary sort of something happening, you come to a conclusion of its non-existence. So that is what he is saying. Rahu Grasta Divakara Indu Sadrishaha, like that. Now that is the Upama, Upamana. The Upameya is Maya Samachadanat. So in the same way, you are recognizing nothing because of the Achadana, the coverage by Maya. So this is where we stopped in the last class. So we will understand this Maya. So he is saying, what is this? What is he trying to argue? So Maya is a slightly a sort of a technical term. There is a Maya Panchakam. 5 are there. Very interesting to read. It's not too difficult if you read. It's a very nice shloka. Adi Shankara has written a Maya Panchakam. So where he gives some ideas of Maya. But in his Viveka Chudamani, he has a good, in shloka 108 to 115, In those 7-8 shlokas, there is a certain technical definition of this. What is this Maya? People are using the word Maya, Maya and Maya. Here also he is using. So we look at those shlokas. We saw it a little bit last class. We will continue from there. So these are the definitions he gives. Avyakta namni paramesha shaktihi anadi avidya. They are all in sandhi. I am doing the padacheda as I read. Avyakta namni. That which is not manifesting in a very physical form. This is like a software. Software never exists in a physical form. You see only the effect of a software. So software is a Maya, actually speaking. Because it doesn't, a hardware is hard. You can touch and all that. Software is, it's like a software. Maya is a software. Avyakta namni. It's not vyakta, it is avyakta. You can only see its effect. You can't show it by a hand or anything like that. Avyakta namni paramesha shaktihi. This is a divine force which is actually flowing. Paramesha shaktihi. That Visarga has brought that rakara there. Shaktihi. Anadi avidya. Anadyavidya. Yan sandhi is happening there. Anadi, it is beginningless. Avidya, it is actually a bundle of ignorance. Avidya, trigunatmika. It's the only way you can catch it, see its effect is through the three gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamo gunaha. They are the manifestable properties of Maya. Trigunatmika paraha. Karyanumeya. Sudhiyaiva Maya. So its effects are seen by the actions that are happening. The actions that we are doing is actually a proxy to Maya. Maya is working through us. Just like when you run a program, you see the effect. So the software is known only by the effect of what is happening when you run the program. It's like that. So Karyanumeya Sudhiyaiva Maya Yaya Jagat Sarvamidam Prasuyate. It is all over the world. It is present everywhere. So first definition, he puts a definition in which he says, how do you understand Maya? The nearest way to understand Maya, it is avyakta, but if you want to go anywhere near it and understand it, look at the three gunas. Trigunatmika. That is its characteristic. It manifests itself through. So that's why if somebody who is gunatita, then Maya is also transcended the world of Maya. That's why the gunatita is being talked about in Vedanta and Gita and all that. So actually he gives a definition and he explains it very nicely. Maya is actually a set of what is called Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. See, Avarana is coverage. The best way to understand something wrongly, the best way to understand something otherwise as something else is first to cover its original property. There is a desert. In the desert you see water. The mirage in the desert. On a tar road, on a summer, you see water. Now, if for you to see water, two things are required. First, that it is nothing but mere tar must be covered. If the coverage is not happening, you cannot bring some related items on the top of it. When you have to get miscomprehended in life, it is not only about objects. If you have to be miscomprehended about life, the original knowledge must be first covered. Then only there is scope for miscomprehension. If the original knowledge is manifesting itself so well, where is the scope for misapprehension and miscomprehension? So the first property of Maya is Avarana Shakti. It first puts a bedsheet and covers the objects beneath it. Okay? Moment you have covered it, now you start guessing because you don't know what it is. Because the original properties are covered. Now you start mapping all the properties you know to the nearest and say this is what it is. You start comprehending it wrongly. That is called Vikshepa. Kship is to throw. Kshipati means throws in Sanskrit. It comes from the dhatu kship. Akshepa is, I throw a difference of opinion on you. All those words are coming from there. Kship is to throw. So, second is, moment you have covered the original, Now you use a nearest possible property and latch it on the top of it and understand it to be that. So see a snake in the rope. And how do you cover it? Make a room very dull lit, very little light, gentle breeze, then starts curling a little bit, so you know there is a cobra there. That sort of thing can be possible. Or you do something on the desert, some properties are destroyed there, and so something is getting reflected and it creates a water kind of a thing, and then you start seeing the water. That's a Vikshepa Sakti. Now, how do you relate it to our life? But the entire Vedanta discussion is only that. It says you don't know what is Atma. You cover Atma and latch Anatma and Atma. First you cover Atma. The intrinsic property of Atma is covered. And moment it is covered, then you put anything on the top of it, it is Anatma. So the Anatma is understood for Atma. The most humorous way of explaining this is, I repeated it, I have said it a few times in my past lectures also, is one person, I heard it in a nice lecture actually. One person was sitting there and this person called him M.A. Buffalo. Then he got up to his arm and he almost came to hit him. He said, I have been telling you 1,000 times you are Atman, you never came up and thanked me. Moment I say M.A., you latch that property onto you and then you get worked up. This is what is happening. In a humorous way I am saying. We take our existential property and latch a wrong property on it. And it can be argued in many ways. Take goal of life. What is a goal of life? What is Sat and Asat? What is Atma and Anatma? What is the ultimate, Sapalya, Janma Sapalya? In all that, we have actually an Avarana which is working, so therefore we are doing a Vikshepa. These are all the play of Maya. So it is not only about objects. Object is only an example to take. Our life is full of Avarana and Vikshepa. First it is covered with, the original thing is covered. And so in Bhagavad Gita I was mentioning that. Adityeva Jnanam. When you, because of Ajnana, Mukhyanti Jantavaha, what it says. Because of the Avarana of Ajnana, we are all deluded. If you remove that, the truth will shine like sun. So this is the role play of Maya. Maya covers something, and moment it has covered, it allows you to also start mapping some imperfect, wrong things or ideas of life. Who am I? For everything you can argue this. So that is what he is actually talking. So there are
movie, screen and picture, that is also
no, that is not a very appropriate. That is Adhisthana and Aropa, but there the Adhisthana is the Karana. That is a Karana Karya is a very nice example there, than Vikshepa and Avarana there. So the Vikshepa Shakti Rajasaha Kriyatmika. So what is this Rajas? All our things to, I want to become the CEO, I want to make a lot of money, I want to have security, all of them at one level, we don't know what are we pursuing actually. Because one stroke we may come back to a different reality of life. So the entire Rajasic activities that we are doing is the force of Vikshepa, which is actually constantly mapping us as something else and working for it. That's what he's saying. He's saying Vikshepa Shaktihi Rajasaha Kriyatmika. The Rajas comes out of the ability to superimpose and think that is a reality and go after it and put all our effort towards that. Yataha Pravrittihi Prasuta. That is how the world of activity happens. Yataha, from that, Pravrittihi Prasuta Purani. For time immemorial, the whole world of action is happening because of wrong mapping. Well, right mapping happens, we settle. Nothing is required. We have found the truth. Again, there is a very nice way. There was one person sitting, apparently, I think Swami Ramatirtha or somebody mentioned this, sitting on the banks of, Thames River or, somewhere in the US somewhere, Sacramento River or something. So, one American came and said, why are you sitting like this doing nothing? So this gentleman asked, what do you want me to do? Do some work. Why should I do some? This is a very jovial thing. Don't. Why should I do some work? No, you can, earn. Why should I earn? You can have, all comforts and everything. The question, there are several questions. Why should I have more money? You can buy things that you want. Why should I buy all these things? Then like this goes on. Finally he says, you can be happy. He said, that's what I'm doing now. Understand? So what I'm saying is, if you have reached that level, the activities will stop. Rajas will disappear is all that I'm saying. Until then we have to. You should not risk that now. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it conveys that point. That if the reality opens itself and shows the truth, this sense of agency will disappear. Sense of endowment will disappear. Sense of agency will disappear. So, in other words, the sense of agency, entitlement, it is mine, ahankara, mamakara, all those are rajas. And that is happening because the Atma Anatma Viveka is still not there. We are work in progress. So that is what he is saying. Ragadayaha asyaha. So the, aversion and attachment. Raga adi. Adayaha. Ettal. Raga, dvesha, moha, mada, masarya. Although adayaha means ... Ragadayaha asyaha prabhavanti. That's why we get into all moods. We want to do this, we want to do that. It's not happening. We are upset. Tomorrow we are happy. Happiness immediately goes and gets into sadness. So many things happen. We are work in progress. Nityam prabhavanti dukkhadeha. Out of that, dukkha plus ... Adeha. Dukkha etal manaso vikara. So the mind goes through endless transformations. All these are happening because of Vikshepa Sakti. That Vikshepa Sakti is one force of Maya. And that Vikshepa Sakti will work when there is Avarana Sakti there. If Avarana Sakti is removed, Vikshepa Sakti cannot work. That's a necessary condition for this to work. That's what he is saying here. Yesha Avrittihi Nama. Okay, the double S is indicating the Dirgha Akara. Yesha Avrittihi Nama Tamogunasya Shaktihi. So what is this Tamogunas? This is what is spreading the towel and protecting the, deceiving and making you not understand the original. You have to close it first. Avarna. So that's what it is saying. Avartihi nama. Yeshaha avrittihi nama tamogunasya shaktihi yaya vastuhu abhasate anyata. The vastu is shining as something else. That is a necessary condition for you to do that. Vastuhu bhasate anyata. Sa esha nidanam purusha samsritehe vikshepa shaktehe prasarasya hetuhu. This is a necessary condition for the vikshepa to happen. Avarana is, without avarana, if you don't remove the rope property, you cannot latch a snake property on the top of it. You have to first cover the rope property. Only then there is a scope for a snake property there. The shell has to be first covered, then only you can see a silver there. It will shine like that. You may think it is silver, but if you go near, you will find it is an oyster. It is just a shell. That kind of a thing. So that is what it is, veiling power. So that is why I said that Maya operates in the world through what is called Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. Now the shloka also says, Ajnanam Alasya Jatatva Nidra Pramada Mudatva Mukaha Tamogunaha. What are the faces of Tamoguna? How do you recognize Tamoguna? He says these are all the ways you should understand Tamoguna. Ajnanam, wrong knowledge or ignorant knowledge. Okay. Alasyam, apathy or dullness or lethargy, whatever you want to say. Jatatva, okay, not chit, jada, jatatva. Nidra, sleep. Pramada, wrong, understanding wrong things, foolishness. Mudatva, all these are tamogunasya mukaha, mukatva tamogunaha. Yetaihi prayuktaha, a person who is completely at the sway of pure tamas. Now we are talking about pure tamas. A person who is in the complete sway of pure tamas, yetaihi prayuktaha, nahi veti, he knows nothing. He knows nothing. Kinchid, Kinchit na veti. He knows nothing. Okay, kinchitapi nahi veti. Nidraluhu vat. Just like one who is in deep sleep. Nidraluhu vat. Stambhavat. Or like a stick, which is a jada which knows nothing. Right? Eva tishtati. Stambhavat eva tishtati. Now why I am saying this is the deep sleep he is talking here. So he has actually, so what is deep sleep? Deep sleep is a situation in which Vikshepa Shakti is taken out, Avarana Shakti is 100%. That is the difference between a deep sleep and Samadhi. In a Samadhi, Avarana Shakti is removed. In a deep sleep, Avarana Shakti is there. So you are blissfully ignorant. That's the right word to use, blissfully ignorant. You are truly blissful in deep sleep. But we are ignorant. Why? Because it is completely covered by tamas. The Vikshepa is gone. That is why there is no activity. Stambhavat. Pure tamas will be like this. Tamas with rajas is what we are all work in progress in different. So if you read chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, you will find the mix and all that. It's a nice description of rajas, tamas and sattva. So that is what he is saying. That's why he says Maya Samachadana, that he is saying here. What he is saying is this Maya removes the Vikshepa Shakti, completely retains the Tamo Shakti alone, which is you are completely covered in ignorance. And that is why the deep sleep resembles nothingness. Complete nothingness, because it is covered with tamas. That is Maya Samachadanat. Sanmatra, Karanasya Upasamharana. Upasamharana is destroy or put it off. So all the Karanas, seeing, walking, sleeping, feeling, thinking, imagining, everything is switched off. Satmatra, you are Satmatra. Chit is, because of tamas, Chit is covered. Although Chit is there, it is covered. Sat is there, you exist. Sanmatra, Satmatra. In Sandhi it becomes San. Because of Makara it becomes Nakara. Sanmatra Karana Upasamharanataha. And why you became Satmatra? Because all Karanas are destroyed. Upasamharana of all Karanas, all organs. Indriya, Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, Buddhi, Manas, Chitta, Ahankara, everything is gotten into hibernation. That is why you are Sanmatra. You are only Sat. Yaha, that person, Sushuptaha Pumana, Bhoot, Abhoot. He was like that, past tense, Abhoot. Sushuptaha. Puman. Puman is actually Purusha. Purusha is that Purusha, Prakriti of Purusha. Not a masculine Purusha. Purusha is that Jivatma. In its purest form is called Purusha. Without all these instruments, the technical word, it's a technical word. Purusha means that soul which is devoid of all these frills, which are organs and knowledge, knowing, feeling good, feeling bad, everything switched off. That is called Purusha, Puman. Okay? Prag. Prag means before. Prag. Prag Sandhi Ka become Ga. Prag swaps, aswapsam. I slept. He is telling in past tense now. Prag aswapsam iti. Aswapsam is I slept. Uttama Purusha. Aswapsam. Agacham. Not agachat. Agacham. Agacham means I went. Agachat means he went. He, she, it went. It says aswapsam. I slept. Prag, before. Prag aswapsam iti. When are you saying? Prabodha samaye. You got up and said, I had a good sleep. We always describe a good sleep, very good sleep only in past tense. Nobody can describe a very good sleep in present tense. That means he is not sleeping. How can I say I am having a very good sleep? That means I will take you to Nimmans immediately. Because there is something wrong with your statement now. So good sleep has to be always told in past tense. So Prag aswapsam iti prabodha samaye yaha pratyabhignayate. Abhignayate, pratyabhignayate. He cognizes, he recognizes, recognizes. He recognizes, he recollects. He is not going through. He is talking about a past tense. So this is the argument, second argument Shankara is bringing. He says, if you are nothing, If you are completely a shunya, how can you talk about that experience later? All of us do it. This is a pramana. Anubhava pramana. I am not using any rocket science. You, every one of us go through it. Anubhava pramana. Every one of us get up and say, today, I had a very good sleep. Very common. So the question is, if you are in shunya, if you are a shunya and nothingness, where from this came? How can you recollect? Out of nothingness, how can you create somethingness? This is the second argument. So, what is this pratyabhijna? Pratyabhijna, prati abhijna. Prati is again, jna abhijna. That is the idea here.
Sir, can it be a construction of our mind in the beginning and end? For example, I got tired and I'm sleeping. No, I'm very tired. And I woke up very fresh. So I had two experiences in the beginning and the end. And I kind of superimpose saying I had a good sleep.
No, you say that. But my question, that means you are now recognizing you are in between, there is a continuity of you.
That is the start and end I know.
No, not only, we'll come to it, not start and end.
Is also there.
Huh?
The feeling of freshness.
See, you please tell me, can you know his dream? Can you know my dream? Right? Why? Because there is no continuity to the consciousness. Your anubhava, you only know. My anubhava, I only know. How can you know my anubhava? Not possible. Which means, if I recollected something, I must be present throughout. If there is a discontinuity, how will you connect again? So the argument is the continuity now. You get up and tell all that is fine. You said point A in you, point B, first of all you said point A I existed, point B you existed, in between there was a 4-hour break. First of all, my question is this I same as this I? You will now agree, because it's Anubhava Pramana. I am only saying. So I will not disown. Now my second question is, can you tell me what happened in between? Is this I got destroyed and then recreated when you got up? Or this I was there throughout? That's the second question. Logic says I has to be there. If I is not there, then that's why I said, if this I is different from this I, continuity, then I can know your dream.
Not only the past is also gone, right?
Past is also gone, continuity is gone. I can't do it. No, so whatever you bring, I will ask you to connect. So that is where the prati word is very, very important. Pratyabhijna, again. So there are three conditions for pratyabhijna.
So what do the Shunyavadin then say exactly? So they say that since we are always in the state of nothingness even when we wake up, what do they exactly say?
No. So all that they are saying, their argument was as follows. They went by reduction absurdism. They said, in the waking state, I am the body seems to be maintainable. Even there are contradictions, we can remove it. Then, when you go into dreaming state, prana and deha will go and indriya is still maintainable because indriyas are still working in dream. So, I am indriya can be still maintained. So, they are using only that logic. They didn't look at this possibility. So, they went on in that path. So when they removed everything, when finally they came here, they said, therefore this is what you are. Because I removed everything, it has to be this. Now his argument is that your path is okay, your conclusion is wrong. Because you have introduced a whole lot of difficulty of explaining that I woke up. So from the shunya to this world of experience shunya, they were not able to reconcile it in a logical way. That is where the problem is.
I'm asking this because, this postulate by the Shunyavadins, even if you apply a little bit of brain, you will find that this is not a...
Yeah, so I also, one has to get into the depth of that tarka to understand. I am also not able to honestly explain to you.
Sir, they're saying since dream you accepted it is not real. This waking is also not real, so nothing.
That's what they are using, that reduction absurdism. They are removing what are not there and finally said, therefore this is what I am. But then that has to be fully, it should be able to then explain all complications coming out of it. We'll have to get into a little more detail because it cannot be as simple.
Exactly, because this looks very simple.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
not.
Apply a little bit of, there are so many contradictions in
Yeah. So one has to get into a fair amount of detail. For our level of thing, I have just, because tarkas are real hair splitting. These are all tarkas, a lot of tarkas there. But at least we understand that if you have to recollect something, three things must have happened. First of all, experience must have already happened. Then only you can recollect. Only you can recollect a past, not recollect a future. You can only recollect a past. Something must have happened already. And the knowledge must have been already there. Then only you can recollect. You cannot recollect something which you don't know. So there must be an incident of some knowledge happening, although awareness may not be there at that time. That is the second. And the third is, as I was saying, the rememberer and the experiencer must be the same. In other words, exactly your point. At this point I exist, at this point I exist, correct? And if both are the same I, then in between also I should have been there. Because if you remove that part of it, then you can introduce a whole lot of complexity. Then I can know your anubhava, then somebody can know somebody else's anubhava. Because you are now trying to argue, you can reconstruct an anubhava with a discontinuity also. That will be little harder. So that is why all these imply the continuity of. In fact, the next sloka, you are right, there are lots of finer cut and arguments. We are really getting there. Next sloka is response to one such argument which came out of a counter argument from this, which we will little bit see. I mean, it's very deep. We are sort of looking at it one level only, actually. I appreciate your observation, actually. So the continuity of consciousness appears a very logical thing. So the nothingness is difficult because continuity of consciousness challenges the notion of nothingness in its own ways and so on. Now some such arguments are there.
But I think the dispute is between the existence of consciousness versus nothing. That was the dispute between Shankaracharya.
Correct. They are not recognizing the notion of consciousness. That is a much stronger argument. The notion of consciousness is not accepted by most of the schools. But he is saying that no, what is that continuity is actually the chit. That is the consciousness. This is what he was trying to actually bring in. So the second argument, one of the important argument, is then these tarka Nyayavadis came and say, they actually bring another point. They say there are valid source, pramana, valid sources of knowledge. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upama, right? Arthapatti, like that, there are 4 or 5. They say merely recollecting a past knowledge and using it as a basis for argument is not allowed. Is not valid means of knowledge, which we have agreed. I am not quoting, these tarkas are all the arguments are like that. You are bringing a pramana, you are bringing a knowledge which is recollecting some past thing happened, and you are saying that is a valid source of knowledge to prove your point. That is not acceptable. Because it is not in our scheme of things. There is no pratyaksha. Because pratyaksha was not there. You are only recollecting a past. You are not using upamana, anumeya, nothing. Anumana, upameya, nothing. So this is their argument. So that's why Shankaracharya brings another shloka now, which is the 7th shloka, in which he says, okay, let us now use some pratyaksha anumana. If this is bothering you, that the so the question now is to establish continuity of consciousness. So let us now establish the continuity of consciousness logically with our own experience. Anubhava as a pramana is accepted because that is pratyaksha. Anubhava is pratyaksha. I have gone through it, so I will not refute it. So he is getting into the. So the most important thing in the next sloka which we are going to see. No, in samadhi there is there. When awareness is also there. Yeah. It's there.
Right. So how does that fit?
No, so there is no question. The question is only in deep sleep. The difference between deep sleep and samadhi is I am aware of the state I am in. Whereas in deep sleep I am not aware of the state I am in while I am going through it. That's why I am recollecting it in past. So that is where the question of discontinuity and the existence of consciousness can be questioned and can be a question mark there.
So the awareness is there.
Exactly.
In samadhi, we also use Deha Prajna is gone, isn't it? Deha Prajna is gone in samadhi. That means
No, that's a conscious choice of dropping. That's what I am saying. It is a conscious choice of dropping all the upakaranas. The samharana of the karanas is a conscious choice made. That is how the samadhi apparently is established. Whereas in deep sleep, it is involuntary. It is not conscious choice. It is involuntary. That's why the consciousness is in doubt.
Voluntary and involuntary.
It is involuntary. The tamas engulfs you and you are ignorant and you are slipped into a coma, sort of a thing. It's a different type of a coma, sort of. In samadhi, there is this awareness and the conscious decision to get that kind of a thing. That is what being argued about, the difference between a samadhi and a deep sleep. So there the question is not there. So the arguments are, there are three questions then. One is, let us look at some logic. See, the best way to get very spiritual and thoughtful in life, this is my own little experience also, is to observe our own complex system that God has created. It will teach a lot of things in life. This is the most complex technology and intricacy, you name anything is here. Actually. That's why I am surprised people who read medicine are not becoming philosophical. Maybe they are not also looking at this story. I mean, I am amazed whatever little of course, obviously none of us have a degree in medicine. Whatever little I read, it puts me into a deep thought onto the wonder called the human body. So look at this question.
B.M. Agnes, when this one was there, you must have heard this. He says, one doctor after nearly, he is about 45-year-old doctor, who has done the MBBS and all that, something similar to that in the US. Then she says, I want to unlearn all these things and get back to this one. So she goes back to the college and tries to join. Then after about 6 months in the college, he says, this knowledge is absolutely useless. The knowledge of anatomy and all these things, she gives up everything, this becomes spiritual. And then he says, we can only treat this body by spiritual consciousness only, not by this physical, this medicine and all that, absolutely useless. She comes to the conclusion. Dr. B.M. Agnes given a lecture on that.
There is a subject for medicine in the last year, philosophy, but like our engineering, like organization, they don't study it.
So look at this question here. It's a simple question. How is that a set of extremely complex systems? I mean, I don't know how many complex systems are there inside this whole thing. When you get a problem, then doctors say, your liquid level in your eye is some 0.01 ml less. That's why you are getting giddiness. See, what is the complexity that you see? I'm just giving one example, right? Somebody told me the crust in the toe, even if the curvature is slightly less, you will fall. You can't stand, apparently. Doctor was telling me. So question is, how is that a set of very complex thousands of systems work in perfect harmony and synchronization when we analyze a human system? Question is, who is responsible for it? Please be advised, let's say somebody studied this anatomy, which modern science is studying, found that the equivalent of a heart is actually a pump, which they have done. So you construct an equivalent of all of them with all the systems, they will not work in harmony. When you have fear, the heart will not pump faster. You have now turn a dial or you write a program and that program should not malfunction. So many issues are there. You need a supercomputer to run. If you remove all these systems, attach some man-made systems using, and our friend will also test and give us all the things are correct and so on. But with all that, if you connect, you may need a Cray computer to actually run it. So the question is, who is actually running the show? This perfect harmony that is this order out of, in other words, the question we are asking is, how is this order out of chaos being created? This is a question which should put us into a little thought. It's a very complex system, they are all interdependent, interrelated and so on and so forth, correct? When some, slight climate changes, when I am told when, the ice melts a little bit more in Greenland, some El Nino will happen in Thailand. Butterfly effect. Butterfly effect. What is all this? How are we going to, so the question is, the who is a very, very important question. The why is not the important question, the who is the most important question. Who is doing all this is a question which will put us thoughtful in life. We should ask, even in distress, we should ask the who part of it rather than why did it happen to me, how did it happen. We waste a lot of time in that. If you ask the who, we can become a little philosophical. I mean, make a larger sense of certain things in life. So that is the question which will give some answer for continuity. The continuity is about the who part. So I am asking who is there, who is sleeping, transforming me from the swapna to the exactly at one time. Moves, then they say some chemical. If you go to a modern scientist, he'll say this enzyme is pumping more than else. Who is pumping this enzyme? For whatever you ask, I'll ask a who. Why did you get a fever? He'll say more virus. I'll say some virus got attacked. I said, who put the virus? Then he says some molecule change. I said, who will? I will keep on asking who changed the molecule. Then finally we'll end up with a big question of who. So it is important in our life. I think it is very important. We should develop the habit of asking who. It's very important because it can make us a little more wiser. It can make us a little more thoughtful, which is a good thing. So that is where he is getting into in the next shloka. We'll see the next shloka. Balyadishwapi jagradadishu tata sarvastu avastasu api. They are all in sandhi. Sarvasu avastaswapi. Sarvasu avastasu api. Okay? Vyavrittaha swanuvartamanam. There is a makara. Swanuvartamanam. Aham iti antaspurantam sada. Vyavrittaranuvartamanam ahamityantaspurantam sada. Swatmanam prakatikaroti bhajatam yo mudraya bhadraya tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. So he says Balyadi. Balya ... Adi. Adi is etel. Balyadi. Balyadishu. Saptami Vibhakti. Adi Adishu. Plural. In those. In. Saptami. Balyadishu api. Balyadishwapi. It's a yan sandhi actually. Jagradadishu. Jagradadishu. Again Jagrad ... In that. Saptami Vibhakti. Plural. Jagradadishu. Tata. Like that. Sarvasu. In all such. Avastasu. Sarvasu avastasu api. So he is now saying, being a balya ... Jagrat ... He is giving two examples only. Then he says sarvasu avastasu. In all such avastas, in all these avastas also, avastasu api, vyavrittam, anuvrittamanam. Vyavrittam is mutually exclusive. Pritak, separate. All these avastas, we'll talk about avastha. Anuvartamanam, there is somebody who is there in all this. There is a string of continuity in all this. We'll see it. It's a very interesting idea. All of us have anubhava. Nobody can say no. Aham iti antaspurandam sada. I. There is a I-ness which is radiating in me from the time I am born. There is a notion of I-ness which is there all the time in me. In all the avastas. Avastas are changing, the I-ness is not changing. Anuvartamanam. It follows you wherever avastha you go, the I is there. That's what he is saying. Aham iti antaspurandam sada. That is actually beating inside. I. That is beating inside. Sada. 24/7. Okay? Swatmanam prakati karoti. The third thing is one who is able to show it. So we will see, first of all, we are talking about avastha. Word avastha has to be, we are also using it in a very common parlance also sometimes. Avastha means, nearest definition is state. You know, in systems engineering we use the word state. A state can be defined with a few variables. in thermodynamics, in anything. There is a state of a system. In mathematics also they use the word state. State is defined by certain variables, certain properties. So avastha is actually a state.
Like liquid gas.
That is also an avastha in its own. Avastha means state. Avastha means condition. Condition is also a state. Situation is also a state. State of a system. So avastha means state. Now, there are so many ways by which we can define avastha. Shankaracharya has first given two direct examples. First example he gives is balyadi. So there are stages of our life. As an individual, as a sojourn, from womb to tomb. That's what Chinmayananda says, womb to tomb. We are all progressing. Correct? Cradle to grave. We are sort of progressing. That is into four avastha. Balyam, Kaumaram, Yauvanam and Vardhakam. Now please understand, these four are mutually exclusive. You cannot be simultaneously a Vardhaka and a Balya. You cannot be simultaneously Yauvana and Kaumara. You cannot be simultaneously Kaumara and a Vardhaka, and whichever combination. So the first property of avastha is not only that it is a state, the different state variables, or whatever you want to call it, are actually mutually exclusive. So you can transition. This is called, my PhD was on this in some ways. This is called random walk. It's called Poisson process. I have to use all these, it's all, queuing theory, arrival and departure are all measured only like this. It is a random walk from one state to another state. So you have to transition. We used to compute what is called transition probability. What is the chance you will go from here to there and so on. So a state is mutually exclusive. A state can have 20 variable instances, but you will be at a time one state. From that state you can transition to another state. Then mathematics says you can come back home. This is a well defined thing. For our practical purposes I am not bringing the math. Only trying to connect. So you can transition from one state to another. So from Balya you can go to Kaumara. And in this particular example there are constraints also. You can't jump. From Balya you have to go to Kaumara. From Kaumara you have to go to Yauvana. From Yauvana you have to go to Vardhakya. Anyway. So the first condition, definition of a state is a condition. Avastha is a condition, state or a situation. Second, avastha is a set of mutually exclusive positions. You cannot be in more than one at the same time. That's why it is mutually exclusive. Can be here. So he has given one example. That's why he says balyadishu. Api also. Then he gives another example, Jagradadishu. That is stage of life. This is every day. If you take every day, you can be in Jagrat, Swapna or Sushupti. Because you can add Samadhi also if you want. But we are talking about the mortals like us. Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti. These are the three. You can't be on all the three at the same time. Same property will hold good. You cannot say I am in deep sleep and I am woken up. You can't say I am in deep sleep and Swapna. So the same property is coming now. So that's the second example he has given. Jagradadishu. Then he says Tata, in the same way, Sarvasu avastasu api. Which means he says, technically you can like this, define a set. Each one is a set now. Jagra, Swapna, Sushupti is one set describing an avastha from one dimension. Balyam, Yauvanam, Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Vardhakam is another set of possibilities when you look at from a variable called stage of my life. So sarvasu avasthas. So what are these different avasthas? There are so many. You can say I am angry, I am happy, I am sad. You can take another dimension like that. All our moods are avasthas. All our moods are avasthas. I am happy, I am angry, I am depressed, I am dejected, I have irsha, I am ferocious, I have moha, I have mada, I have masarya. You can put a big. These are the avastha of the mind. Right? You can say I am a. You can bring a varnashrama also. It's another avastha. You can say I am a brahmana, I am a vaishya, I am a kshatriya, I am a shudra. I can say that. That's another dimension with which I can develop, define. That's why he uses the word sarvasu avastasu api. He says you define what is your state in using hundreds of dimensions. It's okay. You please understand they have these properties. Avastha means, and in fact the nearest root verb that you will find is tishtati. Tishtati is there. Avatishtate. He is there. Or stapayati. Stapayati, place. Place somebody, something in a certain condition. That's why avastapayati, avastiyate, all these are from where only avastha came. I brought the roots from where you can get this. So it is a situation, state, condition, etc. You can have multiple dimensions to define a state. That's why Adi Shankara said, sarvasu avastasu api. Parts of our daily existence, Jagrat, Swapnam and Sushuptihi, stage of life, Balyam, Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Vardhakyam and so on. State of the mind, Sukha Dukkha Adi. I also started using Adi now. ... Sukha Dukkha Adaya. Our position or strata in the society, Varna Ashrama Vishayaha. You can bring Varna and then define your state. You can bring Ashrama. You can say, I am a sannyasi, I am a brahmachari, I am a vanaprastha, I am a grihastha. We can say that. Right? Or, state of the mind, any number. The only thing we should understand is, they are all temporary. Again, this story I have told earlier, I want to tell you, this is a very powerful story. I have told it a few times in the past, but I want to say it again. Why it is temporary? There was a very nice student, bright student in a Gurukula, flying colors he passed, and then he passed out and then he got married. Exactly after a year the wife was dead. Young boy after all, wife is no more, profusely is in grief. So this guru goes there and talks a lot of philosophy to him. No, life is like this and so on. This boy is just couldn't bear it anymore. He said, I have lost my beautiful wife and you are talking all this philosophy and all that. So the guru silently withdrew from the scene and then went away. But this boy actually is a very cultured and not that he was very disrespectful and so on. So after all these events happened, this boy was little bit not happy. The other day the guru came. I think in the heights of my emotion, I must have talked to him in a little less respectfully. This was bothering him for a long time. So after 4 or 5 months, this was just too much bothering him repeatedly. He said, let me go and see the guru one day. At least I can apologize for my behavior when he came the other day. So he goes after 4 or 5 months to the guru. The guru says, come my dear friend. What he said? He said, sir, the other day you came. I think I have been a little out of my normal, what I should be doing. I think I was disrespectful to you. This has bothered me a lot. I have come here to take my apology. I want to apologize for my act of behavior on that day. So the guru gently smiled at him and said, no, nothing like that. Why are you bothered? I have not remembered any of those. I have forgotten long back. Nevertheless, you seem to be thinking about it. Anyway, you have come now today. It's nice of you to come and tell me all that. Can you do me a favor? He said, sir, I will do anything for you. I have so much respect for you. You do one thing. The other day when I came, you were crying so badly. So sit in that corner and cry like that for half an hour and go. Tears will not come out of it. It is difficult. Yes, after we get some glycerin. What I am saying, even Sukha and Dukkha, the avasthas of Sukha and Dukkha are temporary. The biggest ignorance we have is, moment a Dukkha comes, we think it is so permanent that we are dejected. And moment a Sukha comes, we also think it is so permanent that the fear of losing it makes us. Either ways it is bad. That's why Agamapayino Anityaha Tam Titikshasva Bharata is what Krishna says. Matra Sparshast Kaunteya Sitoshna Sukadukadaha Agamapayina. They come and go. They have the habit of coming and going. All avasthas are like that. Avasthas are always temporary. Avasthas are independent. Avasthas are mutually exclusive. In other words, the avasthas are discontinuous. That's why it said vyavrittam. Although avasthas are discontinuous, the I is not discontinuous. The I is continuing. I am the one who was angry, I am the one who is happy, I am the one who was dejected, I am the one who is now whatever. That's why vyavritta anuvartamanam, that's what is the word he is bringing. The vyavasthas are always vyavrittaha. They have that tendency to be temporary, independent, mutually exclusive and so on. But the experience, aham iti antaspurandam sada, is what he says. There will be a continuity. This is an anubhava pramana. So now I am bringing a pratyaksha. This is pratyaksha. Who can disown this? Every one of us have gone through it. Consciousness is continuous, which I will show you even now. There are so many things which are discontinuous. So your discomfort is when something is discontinuous, the consciousness cannot be continuous. That is your argument. I will now show you that life has so much of discontinuous states which are all mutually exclusive. We are transitioning. But the I is there. I mean, the biggest way to understand it is that a 70-year-old man can take a 2-year-old photo of his, a 10-year-old photo of his, a 20-year-old photo of his, and has the audacity to say, this is I. The I-ness has changed in many ways. I-ness has changed not just physically, mentally it has changed. My worldview has changed, my mental model has changed, my idea of who I am has changed, my idea of you has also changed. It keeps changing, no? I thought you are a nice man, after a few days I think you are not a nice man. Or I thought you are a bad man, but after a week I think you are a nice man. Everything has changed. Still I have the audacity to say, so from that stage to this stage, I can say I am the same person. He will show to his grandson, he say, this is me. Grandson will say, don't lie. This is some papa. Small little, child. So that is one example. So we will continue this. So that is what he is saying. He is saying, vyavritta anuvrittamanam. There is an I which is constantly flowing. That is why I am able to say, show a 2-year-old photo and say, I am the same person. So we are now saying, in all states of discontinuity, there will be a state of continuity. And that continuity is what is actually consciousness. It's nothing else other than consciousness, which is the only one continuous. All others are discontinuous. That's why all others are avastha. This is the only one which is beyond avastha. That is what he is bringing through this shloka. We will continue this. I think next 2 Mondays I am not here. I am going to 2 different places, including Vaishnavi Devi. I am there the following Monday, actually 29th. There is an invitation for me to be a chief guest for their foundation day or something. So 29th, 22nd also I am going somewhere. So let us see what to do. Next 2 Mondays I am not here. Let us see how to